पहुंचे, ये हमारी आने वाले दिनों की जरूरत है और हमारी दिशा। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, 10 साल में दिल्ली का नेटवर्क डबल हुआ और आज टियर 2, टियर 3 सिटी में भी मेट्रो नेटवर्क पहुंच रहा है। आज हम सभी गर्व कर सकते हैं, आज भारत का मेट्रो नेटवर्क 1000 किलोमीटर पार कर गया और इतना ही नहीं, वर्तमान में 1000 किलोमीटर और उस पर भी काम चल रहा है, यानी हम कितना तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, प्रदूषण को कम करने की दिशा में भी कई इनिशिएटिव भारत सरकार ने लिए। 12,000 इलेक्ट्रिक बस हमने देश में दौड़ाना शुरू किया है और दिल्ली को भी बड़ी सेवा करी है, हमने दिल्ली को भी दिया है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, हमारे देश में एक नया अर्थव्यवस्था हमेशा समय समय पर का विस्तार होता रहता है। आज बड़े शहरों में गिग इकोनॉमी एक महत्वपूर्ण एरिया डेवलप हो रहा है। लाखों युवा इसमें जुड़ रहे हैं। हमने इस बजट में कहा है कि ई श्रम पोर्टल पर ऐसे गिग वर्कर अपनी रजिस्ट्री करवाएं और वेरिफिकेशन के बाद उनको इस न्यू एज सर्विस इकोनॉमी है उसको हम किस प्रकार से सहायता कर सके और उनको एक आईडी कार्ड मिले ई श्रम पोर्टल पे आने के बाद। और हमने कहा है कि इन गिग वर्कर्स को आयुष्मान योजना का भी लाभ दिया जाएगा ताकि गिग वर्कर को एक सही दिशा में जाने की सुविधा मिलेगी। और एक अनुमान है कि आज देश में करीब करीब 1 करोड़ गिग वर्कर है और उस दिशा में भी हम काम कर रहे हैं। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, एमएसएमई सेक्टर बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में जॉब के अवसर लेकर आता है और ये ऐसा क्षेत्र है कि जिसमें रोजगार की अपार संभावनाएं हैं। ये छोटे उद्योग आत्मनिर्भर भारत के प्रतीक है। देश की अर्थव्यवस्था में हमारा एमएसएमई सेक्टर बहुत बड़ा योगदान दे रहा है।
Hello and welcome to Startup Street. I'm Shruti Mishra and with me are Arundhati Ramanan and Ritu Singh. Arundhati, what's the top story today?
Right, Shruti, thank you so much for that. You know, the top story today is that Chinese fast fashion label Shein has made a comeback into the Indian market. Reliance Retail has relaunched the app almost 5 years after Shein was banned over data security issues. Shilpa Ranipeta joins us now with the details. Shilpa, will Shein's comeback in India with Reliance shake up the fast fashion market?
Well, the fast fashion app Shein went live in India over the weekend and it is currently shipping in Mumbai, in and around Mumbai, in Delhi NCR and in Bengaluru, and pan-India shipping will start very soon. Now, the anticipation was such that it saw over 10,000 downloads within just the first day of being launched. So clearly a lot of weight was there for Shein in India. Now, remember it was banned in 2020 over data security issues around the time that apps like TikTok were also banned. So now in its new avatar, Reliance Retail will own Shein. All of the operations will be managed by the company and the customer data also will remain within India, where Shein is only a technology partner. Reliance will pay a licensing fee to Shein and Shein will have no access to any of the customer data. And in its new avatar, all the products that will be sold on Shein will now be made and designed in India with a possibility to eventually export them as well. And the prices start as low as $199 and only fashion products seem to be being sold on the app right now, but there is a possibility that that will expand into other categories as well. Now, there are concerns over what this means for the value retail space in India and how the competitive landscape will evolve, because it takes on players like Trends, Zudio, Shoppers Stop's, Intune, and ABFRL's Style Up as well. And these are some of the value retail players, especially Zudio, that soared to popularity in the past couple of years, and they sell everything under $9.99. So what this does to the competitive landscape and to the value retail landscape will be very interesting to see, because Reliance Retail has an existing supply chain infrastructure throughout the country that Shein can leverage to sell, and Reliance Retail also has plans to cross-sell Shein's products on Ajio, and we cannot rule a possibility of it being offered in its offline stores as well. And even globally, right, Shein has been such a popular fast fashion app. If you look at just the first half of last year, it clocked revenues of $18 billion and a profit of just under $400 million, and this is actually down from a $2 billion profit that it had clocked last year. And it is also currently gearing up for an IPO in London, and its last funding round last year, it was valued at a whopping $66 billion. So, you know, a fast fashion behemoth now back in India, controlled by India's largest retail player. It will be really interesting to see what this does to not just the retail, but especially the value retail space in India. Back to you.
Shilpa, thanks very much for joining in with that. Now let's shift focus to the union budget, which has been dominating headlines for the last few days. A strong push coming in for India's startup and deep tech ecosystem. The government has doubled its commitment to the fund of funds for startups, adding another 10,000 crores to fuel high potential ventures. So far, AIFs for startups have received investment commitments of more than 91,000 crore rupees, and this latest injection aims to sustain that momentum.
Right, Ritu. Artificial intelligence is another major focus of this budget, with 500 crore rupees allocated to an AI Centre of Excellence and the establishment of 5 national skilling centres. The budget also introduced a deep tech-focused fund of funds with an allocation of 20,000 crore rupees designed to accelerate advancements in critical technologies such as AI, quantum computing, semiconductor research. Now, to further support startups, Nirmala Sitharaman also announced an enhancement of the credit guarantee scheme, and for MSMEs struggling with working capital, a new 5 lakh rupee credit card scheme aims to provide short-term liquidity support.
And that's not all. A new initiative targeting 5 lakh women entrepreneurs from scheduled castes and scheduled tribes over the next 5 years was also announced in the budget, facilitating term loans of up to 2 crores. But for more on the significance of this for the startup ecosystem, we have with us Siddharth Pai, who's the founding partner of 314 Capital, and Bhaskar Majumdar, who's the managing partner of Unicorn India Ventures. Bhaskar, Siddharth, thanks very much for joining us here on Startup Street. Siddharth, let's start with you on how effective you think the original fund of funds has been in easing the funding crunch for startups. And now with the government doubling down on this, how much do you think will actually trickle down to these early stage founders?
That's actually a fantastic question. The original SIDBI fund of funds has been the nucleus around which a large amount of rupee capital formation has actually happened. If you actually go by the numbers, less than 15% of the capital being raised by Indian startups actually comes from Indian sources as of now. The entire Indian startup industry is actually overly contingent on foreign capital coming in to end up fueling their M&A, fueling their growth, fueling their expansion, their marketing, as well as all their operations for that matter. I think what the Fund of Funds has actually done is the Fund of Funds is one of the first initiatives by the government to end up increasing rupee capital participation. The numbers speak for itself for that matter. The IRR on the investments is roughly about between 21 to 22%, which is far higher than what the stock market is actually given, disabusing everyone of the belief that the private markets can't end up actually generating returns. Number two, we've actually seen that the rupee capital formation happening through AIFs is actually enthusing a large number of startups to flip back to India to end up raising funding and then to end up actually tapping the markets as well. Out of the last few growth rounds that happened in 2024, the vast majority of them, for that matter, ended up actually coming from Indian family offices as well as Indian funds. So it's fantastic that the government has reaffirmed its commitment to Startup India by actually going back to this tried and tested program. And hopefully the scope of this can end up actually increasing, and we'll end up seeing a multiplier effect of 9x, the same way that the previous fund has actually demonstrated so far.
All right, so it's a big thumbs up, Siddharth. Coming across to you, Bhaskar, this is Shruti quickly stepping in. Let's talk about deep tech. The world is no more looking at India as merely the hub of IT and IT services, with Chandrayaan launched for $150 million. The world is realizing that India is the hub of low-cost tech innovation. Also, China is changing the rules of the game with DeepSeek. What kind of a boost will the deep tech fund of funds provide to Indian deep tech startups to get ahead in the global AI race?
You're absolutely right, Shruti. Over the last, I think about a couple of years, the move has been already towards deep tech by the Indian VCs. And no doubt this fund of funds is going to be a big boost towards that. Not only is the fund of funds a boost, already some of the government initiatives earlier, like the PLI scheme and especially the DLI scheme that they launched has been working very, very well. So we've got a number of startups within the semiconductor space where, along with the initial equity put in by the seed and early stage investors like us, the DLI grant sits in very well and enables these companies to grow up. And again, something which is not well known in the general public is there is now a strong patent framework that is starting to take place within the whole Indian startup ecosystem. So this triangulation of this global macro towards a China plus strategy, monies coming in both from the VCs and now from the fund of funds, plus, a patent framework will definitely lead to an overall boost in the whole deep tech environment going forward.
But Bhaskar, this 20,000 crore deep tech fund, it is strong intent, but how do you see it being structured? I mean, is it likely to have direct equity participation or co-investment alongside venture capital companies like yourself?
It's the jury is out on that, and obviously we'll have some clarity within a few years, within a few weeks and months. But I think the fund of fund structure, which Siddharth alluded to earlier, has yielded result. And the government has rightly realized that, investing direct is not the government's job. It is for professionals like Siddharth, me, and others in the ecosystem, because we do this for a living. So my gut is it would be a sort of a fund of fund structure where they would invest in, deep tech funds or funds which have a deep tech allocation to go ahead and do it. So my gut is it is not going to be a direct structure. Co-invest, I think first the SIDBI fund of fund will start doing co-invest, and they've been talking about this for some time. And, from the IVCA, we've also been pushing it. So once that sort of happens, I guess it'll come to the deep tech side.
All right. Siddharth, let's talk about the credit guarantee scheme expansion to 20 crore rupees. It is a big move, especially for capital-intensive startups. But will this really move the needle for early-stage ventures that struggle with working capital and collateral requirements?
No, I think this is a fantastic step forward. I think every startup, they actually tell you the hardest round they raise is not the last round, but it's the first round of debt they end up actually getting. I think the banks have actually been fairly muted spectators about the entire startup revolution that's happening. And that's in no part because of the RBI norms that actually require you to end up having hard assets, you to end up being profitable for that matter. All of these end up actually failing when it comes to the new age economy and startups. So I think the government's move to end up having the credit guarantee scheme has allowed a number of banks to end up exploring smaller credit exposure to these startups, allow them to build up a credit score, and then thereafter end up actually giving them more credit when time is actually needed. If you notice, the average percentage held by a founder when they end up going to list is normally in the higher single digits or lower double digits. If you contrast this with the US, where the founders end up owning anywhere between 25 to 40% of their companies at the IPO, we've seen that the dilution effect on Indian founders is large. The dilution effect is large because debt does not play a very, very large role in the capital structure. I think with the credit guarantee scheme, and hopefully they end up increasing it over time, these startups can end up actually raising debt capital for working capital, rather raising equity, hold on to a higher stake, and end up actually generating more value for themselves and the shareholder.
Well, that's an interesting point, Siddharth, and we hope to see more banks also coming forward with this. We've talked about the funding part, but, the government has also extended, for instance, the period of incorporation for startups by another 5 years. So beyond this access to credit, what more could the government have done to support startups, you think, in the budget, particularly when we talk about regulatory ease or tax incentives?
No, I think the first thing the government should have done is to actually demolish the IMB, the Interministerial Board. I think India has 1.5 lakh DPIT registered startups as of now, but less than 3,000 of them have gotten any of the tax benefits stated by the government. This is the tax holiday of 3 out of 10 years, the ESOP tax deferral that the government also promised, and the ability to carry forward your losses when there's a change in shareholders. It is harder for a person to end up getting an IMB certification than it is for them to pass the CA final exams or for them to get into IIT. I think if the government was serious about democratizing these tax incentives to a larger set of startups, they should start by removing the IMB. We can't have a group of bureaucrats or a group of people who don't have skin in the game to decide who's innovative or not and decide who gets the tax benefits that are actually stated. So I think if the government had done that, that would have been fantastic. Deferring the period of incorporation to 2030 doesn't end up solving the issue. It just gives a longer period of time for a larger number of startups to get denied the tax promises that they were promised by the tax benefits they were promised by the Prime Minister all the way in the year 2016. So I think if that change had happened, it would have been fantastic for the startup ecosystem. But we're hopeful that the government will end up actually looking upon it kindly, maybe in the next budget or so.
Absolutely, and we'll surely keep a track of that, Siddharth, and thank you for those insights. Bhaskar, moving away from budget for a bit, Unicorn India Ventures is currently releasing its 1,000 crore rupee Fund 3. So far, the fund has raised over 500 crore rupees and is expected to reach its final close this year. With this fund, you aim to build a portfolio of, 20 startups that are focused mostly in the deep tech sector. What sub-segments will you be looking at, Bhaskar?
So you're absolutely right. We are, I guess, close to 700 odd crores now, or 750 crores, and we would be looking at the final close by April or May this year. We already have created a portfolio of 12 to 13 companies, of which I guess about 8 or 9 of them are in the deep tech. Within deep tech, deep tech is a very loose terminology as such. And the way we view deep tech is anything that is outside of consumer internet and primarily pure SaaS businesses and platforms. Fundamentally, where there is a patentable IP, that's how we sort of define deep tech. And within that, we've invested in robotics business, we've invested in a space tech business, we've invested in a fantastic semiconductor, AI chip design business. And we're looking to invest in a couple more in the mobility space. So broadly, these are some of the sub-segments we are looking at. Of course, with the huge change in the nuclear pact and of the government, that's another sector which will mushroom up definitely, and we are also keeping our eyes on that.
All right, on that note, Bhaskar and Siddharth, thank you both very much for helping us pass through the relevance of this budget as far as the startup ecosystem is concerned. We appreciate your time here on Startup Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
On that note, it's time for us to head into a short break. But coming up, autonomous robotics firm Ati Motors has backed $20 million to expand its product offerings and enter new geographies. We put the firm's founder on the hot seat to find out more. Stay tuned.
सोशल कॉन्शियसनेस, सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और सोशल अवेयरनेस ये किसी भी देश में नागरिकों का बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होता है और जान है तो सब कुछ है। हमारे देश में ये लगातार मरने वालों की संख्या बढ़ रही है। केवल 1 सेकंड सोचिए कि जिनके घर में उनका जवान बच्चा या लड़की डॉक्टर इंजीनियर जैसी चली गई, उनके ऊपर क्या आई होगी। मेरा एक्सीडेंट हुआ है, रेड लाइट कार में मैं महाराष्ट्र में लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन था। मेरे साथ 5-7 पुलिस की गाड़ियाँ थी, कमांडो थी और ड्राइवर को कैटरेक्ट था और गाड़ी ट्रक के ऊपर गई। मेरा पैर 4 जगह टूटा, 2 साल में हॉस्पिटल में था। मेरा बहुत नुकसान हुआ। जो मेरा हुआ ऐसे अनेक परिवारों का हुआ, वो नहीं होना चाहिए।
सर, मुझे क्रिप्टो करके लाइफ बनानी है, पर कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है।
कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए?
हाँ।
कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए? Come on, you have to land it. कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है? कैप्टन, इन्होंने सीखा है, इसलिए ये कॉन्फिडेंट है। अगर आपको क्रिप्टो में कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए, तो क्रिप्टो सीखना होगा। CoinDCX, क्रिप्टो कोच। लर्न करो, क्रिप्टो करो।
सर, आप स्माइल कर रहे हैं?
मैंने भी सीखा है।
Crypto products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions.
Play it your way. Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
Whenever I had ice cream or cold water, I would experience a sharp shooting sensation. So I just kept ignoring it. Even my hot chai was giving me the same amount of discomfort. My dentist recommended Sensodyne. So now I can be completely carefree and sip my hot cup of tea. It really works.
सर ने जो टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस की पॉलिसी ली थी उसका क्लेम अप्रूव हो गया है। 2 करोड़ रुपए आपके अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर हो चुके हैं।
थैंक यू रोहित। आपने और पॉलिसी बाजार ने इनकी टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस लेने में हेल्प नहीं की होती तो पता नहीं मैं ये घर और वेद की पढ़ाई सब अकेले कैसे संभाल पाती।
पॉलिसी बाजार पर 2 करोड़ का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 700 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
13 जनवरी पौष पूर्णिमा से 26 फरवरी महाशिवरात्रि तक महाकुंभ 2025 का साक्षी बन रहा है प्रयागराज का संगम तट। 45 दिनों तक चलने वाले पृथ्वी के सबसे बड़े मानव समागम में करोड़ों श्रद्धालु पुण्य की डुबकी लगाकर बन रहे हैं सांस्कृतिक एकता के सहभागी। यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के मार्गदर्शन और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ के कुशल नेतृत्व से महाकुंभ बना है दिव्य, भव्य, डिजिटल। कुंभ सहायक चैटबॉट ने 11 भाषाओं में हर सेवा की जानकारी देकर एकता के महासंगम को बनाया है स्वच्छ, सुरक्षित, सुव्यवस्थित। नए घाट, रिवर फ्रंट रोड, पांटून पुल, फ्लाईओवर, चमचमाती सड़कें, पार्किंग, हजारों बस और ट्रेन, नवीन एयरपोर्ट टर्मिनल, आधुनिक टेंट सिटी जैसी सुविधाओं से पुण्य स्नान हुआ है आसान। महाकुंभ का है अटल संदेश, एकजुट हो अपना देश।
Mama must be missing us, na?
Let's take you for a spin, give me one day. Feel the itch under my skin, it's a one day. You believe it when you see me and done, hey. It doesn't matter, just gotta get going.
New GT line, Taigun and Virtus. Volkswagen.
Welcome back. You're still with us on Startup Street. Ati Motors, an autonomous robotics company, has raised $20 million in a Series B funding round led by Walden Catalyst Ventures and NGP Capital, reflecting the growing momentum in India's startup ecosystem. The round also saw participation from existing investors, including True Ventures, Xfinity Venture Partners, Athira Venture Partners, and Bloom Ventures. The company will use the new capital to accelerate product development and expand its operations and strengthen its global presence. Joining us now to discuss this further, Saurabh Chandra, the founder and CEO at Ati Motors. Saurabh, thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Startup Street. You know, Ati Motors is an industrial robotics firm, right? If you could take us through what you have on offer, how are you streamlining processes for your clients, and what makes your robots stand out versus competition?
So we make autonomous robots which work in factories. Compared to many of the competition, I think where we have really stood out is with our focus on manufacturing and with our 3D navigation technology, which allows the robots to go outdoors, handle the rain, and handle very rugged environments. So a lot of robots have been there out in the market, but really focused around warehousing or in very nice environments. I think we have really taken advantage of being developed in India in rugged environments, and we are taking that capability to the world.
You've raised this $20 million. How do you plan to use these funds? Anything new in the pipeline?
Of course. I mean, we started with a good tugging robot. We have the best tugging autonomous robot in the world now. And in factories, people move bins, pallets, and other custom things. So our product portfolio is increasing. First of all, with the capital that we have, we are bringing more SKUs into the market. Plus, we have our robots already running in US, Mexico, Southeast Asia, India. So we intend to just go deeper into all these markets with the capital that we have. So product expansion and deepening our ties in the market. We have 40 very large customers, 15 of them Fortune 500. So we have a lot of potential and scope to expand into our existing customers. Plus, there's just a huge amount of pipeline. I think robots are just getting adopted in manufacturing. We need to get to hundreds of customers, right? So we have a long way to go.
Absolutely. So big opportunity there from what you're saying. You know, we're going to discuss your clients and, you know, your order book a little bit in detail. But before that, you saw revenues of 12.42 crore rupees in FY24, according to reports, versus 5.7 crore rupees in FY23, right? But you also saw your losses surge nearly twofold to about 20.3 crore rupees. The opportunity is just now getting bigger for you. Talk to us about what you're targeting for this year and how do you plan to bring down your losses?
Right. So I think that's the nature of many early stage companies. As you grow, the volume of as long as your unit economics is right, which we have very strong focus on, I mean the scale will automatically bring the burn down, right? So I think it's a natural course. You have this kind of an inverted U-turn. In fact, we expect the burn to increase before it comes down, right? So the idea is not to focus on profitability immediately, but make sure that you have solid unit economics, great customers, and the right go-to-market strategy.
Right, absolutely. And if you could sort of, take us through, you said Fortune 500 companies, you're working with a bunch of them. If you could give us a few names of the clients and, across which sectors are you working with them and how do you plan to grow this further, right? What's your current order book at?
So mostly automotive. I think automotive is just simply the early adopter. Typically, when it comes to manufacturing automation, we are in customers like Faurecia, Forvia, or Hyundai, and many others. Typically, especially large customers in manufacturing, not very excited about showing the edge they have against other people with the automation they're using, and I'll keep that discretion for them. But generally, I think all kinds of discrete manufacturing we saw. Consumer goods and, for example, electrical as a big sector and electronics picking up also, right? So it's basically going across all kinds of. We just bagged our first FMCG customer a few weeks ago. So I think the potential is across sectors, but this is where we have started at.
Right, so you see potential across sectors. So you just bagged even your first FMCG client, as you just pointed out. And what about your operations? Your robots are deployed across how many geographies and where are your manufacturing facilities? What's the global expansion plan?
So we are currently, as I mentioned earlier, our robots are running across US, Mexico, India, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, right? So we are in all these countries. All the robots are manufactured here in Bangalore, where we also have our R&D center. So we are a full stack company, do everything from mechanical design, electronics, software, all the way to manufacturing our own robots too, right? So we absolutely do full stack on our robots, and all the robots that run around the world are manufactured right here.
So made in India for the world at this point. All right, Saurabh, we're completely out of time. But thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And we wish you all the best on your journey going forward.
Thank you.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Startup Street. More news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.
Mama must be missing us, na?
Let's take you on spin, give me one day. Feel the itch under my skin, it's a one day. You believe it when you see me and done, hey. It doesn't matter, just gotta get going.
New GT line, Taigun and Virtus. Volkswagen.
Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing businesses, but also exposing them to unprecedented risks. To navigate these challenges, the India Risk Management Awards returns in its 11th year as the ultimate destination for insights and innovation.
These awards seek to honor the silent risk managers who steer the ship in stormy seas.
If you lead with resilience and innovation, then nominate yourself today. ICICI Lombard and CNBC-TV18 present India Risk Management Awards Season 11.
Helps beat sensitivity fast. Sensodyne Rapid Relief.
ਪਿਛਲੀ ਵਾਰ 8 ਘੰਟੇ ਵਾਲੀ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਚੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੱਟ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਕੱਟ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਛੱਡੋ ਬੱਲਬ ਨੇ ਝਮੱਕਾ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਾਰਨਾ ਝਮੱਕਾ
ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਵੀ ਬਿੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ